So I'm hanging here with Matt Good and Hyro the Hero for Knotfest. I'm Ryan J Downy. We are continuing our excellent conversation series where we have been chatting about Hyro's music and all of the great collaborators that he has worked with. So putting Matt Good, of course, on that list, someone who's both a musician, songwriter, producer, many hats, multi-talented, hyphenate, multi-hyphenate, I think they call those. Tell me a little bit, if you can, Hyro, to kick us off, how you came to be familiar with Matt and how the two of you initially connected.
I met through Ben from Asking Alexandria, man. And Ben just had none but great things to say about him. He was just like, yo, man, our album is so insane. This dude, Matt's so epic. And so Ben started working with me and my management and everything. And so we finally put that call in with Matt. And Matt heard about me in the music. He was like, yo, I mess with this. And, Matt's background is like hip hop and shit too, And he has that rock background. So it was like the perfect person to rock with me. They gave me like almost 2-3 weeks, I think it was, to rock with Matt. But literally every song was boom, fire, boom, fire, boom, fire. You get what I'm saying? And his background, from first to last, everything. So he adds that cool element to it. He showed me music, like hip hop music I ain't even heard of. He on the new wave. So that tripped me. I was like, he was showing me hip hop. I was like, how you don't know that? I'm like, bro, you cooler than me, dude. I don't know these guys. So his ear is, he knows what's popping now, and that gives that sound to what my album sounds like, bro. I'm so happy about it.
That's amazing. Matt, obviously, you've worked with Asking most recently on like A House on Fire, which has been one of their most successful records at radio. Mm-hmm. I know you did the self-titled record. You've worked with Hollywood Undead, Sleeping with Sirens, a lot of rock groups, heavy rock groups. Tell me about the hip hop thing, because obviously when I hear your name, the first thing I think is From First to Last. The next thing I think is all those bands you've worked with as a producer. Where does your hip hop passion and fandom and all of that, when did that enter your life?
It's weird. I grew up like consuming music. I feel like the main part of your life where you consume music that shapes your taste is when you're a teenager, obviously. Totally. And that was, for me, that was the 90s primarily. And I think in the 90s, like the mass amount of counterculture music that kind of existed like adjacent to the mainstream or whatever was a blend of rock and rap. It was just kind of like they were harmonious in that time. There's a lot of stuff like coexisting, collaborating, borrowing from each other. And I think like it just was kind of ingrained into my perception like early on. So I've always kind of just liked both realistically. Like when I was a kid, it was like Biggie and Tupac and, like Wu-Tang Clan, Busta Rhymes, like all kinds of cool shit like that. And it had this like gritty kind of like fuck you vibe to it that I love.
Yeah.
Which is the same that metal had and everything too. Like they were harmonious in that way, I thought.
The attitude.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that's where the attitude, and I also think with certain rock bands anyway, the storytelling, even if it's just emotional storytelling, like you're explaining something about a particular feeling, those are two things that those genres I think have always had in common. So how did you first become aware of Hyro?
Same thing. I think Ben from Asking told me about him because I don't remember how exactly he became aware of him, but we did a little remix of an Asking song.
That was first. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I met him that way, and then we just, had a good time, and then, it's kind of organically went from that point.
And Ben was like, I got this song, man, and he sent the beat, and it was super dope. And I was thinking of the lyrics, and I came up with F you too, you know what I'm saying? Fake news, a bunch of fake news. That was the first song we actually worked on. And what was the other one? Probably Retaliations. And we are you. We are intelligent. We are the truth. Those were the two kind of demos. And so I have made, I had ideas for it. And then I went over to Matt's, and I just went to a whole nother level messing with Matt, man.
By the way, I was complimenting Matt's Metallica shirt before we started. I got to shout out
Yeah.
Mania shirt you've got going on. That thing.
Epic.
That WrestleMania shirt's like OG. It looks like.
Oh, it's OG WrestleMania, man. I'm a big
Oh, that's
WWF and
sick.
WWE fan. You like that one,
I love it.
Classic.
I love it. There's so much of my childhood happening on your t-shirts right now.
Right?
It's crazy how everything just comes back around. And literally, that's the flavor we try to bring into the music. I want to bring that old school hip hop with a new feel, the old rock. That's why I say when you're messing with Matt, the music I do, rap and rock, can get corny real fast. So you need somebody with that cool vibe who knows what cool sounds like. And you mess with somebody like Matt, he gonna give you that cool factor where it's not gonna sound corny. Because it's gotta be right in the middle. You can get real corny real quick with rap and rock.
Yeah, it's true.
What were some of the conversations that the two of you had for this project in terms of what sort of things you wanted to achieve creatively, references as far as maybe it's some of this with some of this? What were those early conversations like when you first talked about working together on this?
I mean, for me, it was like I just come in there and I just have an idea in my head, and then I'd be like, "Yo, can you do that?" And he just do it on the guitar, and then he make a whole thing out of it. Like for Fight, we did. I told him, I said, "Bro, my people from Trinidad and Tobago, bro, can we do like a soca beat? But make it rock." And so that's where you get that beginning of Fight. That's us making soca music, and he, Matt take it to a whole nother level. So that's a lot of the process in my mind, where we came from. Matt, I don't know, he's probably like a genius in his shit. I don't know what Matt be thinking. So, take it to a whole nother world.
Yeah.
That was really cool too. I love that shit. Like, just trying to like at first I was like, damn, that's gonna be hard. But then I was like, well, there's actually a groove in that's pretty heavy. And once you realize it all comes together from there pretty quick.
Yeah, thanks for YouTube. We search up, we listen to some Trinidad music. Okay, I got it, Hyro. And bam.
I love that. So in putting this together, obviously there are a lot of collaborations. How did each of those come about in terms of not just choosing who the different guests were going to be, but who made sense for which song? You know what I mean? And like how, start thinking like, I can hear Spencer from Ice Nine on this, or I can hear Brandon from Atreyu on this, or, how did each person end with each specific track?
All of it was after the fact. So most of them songs you heard me on the chorus, all of those were first. So I made all the songs, and then we handed off to people who we thought was, fitted perfectly, and we let them do their thing to it. You know what I'm saying? So like a Chad Gray, and he was in the studio with you, wasn't he, Matt?
Yeah,
Yeah, so he heard the song, and he was just like, bro, I know what to do with this. And he added on. Everything he did, he added on to it. So that was dope. Spencer, we had, I kind of wrote it already, but we just needed that voice to take it to the next level. You get what I'm saying? So he come in and murdered it with that. Disturbed was the same thing. We, it's like, well, we got a great song right here. Who would be good? Fucking David Draymond went in there and killed it. So funny thing, when he first sent it too, he just sent it like on a regular record, and I'm like, oh shit, is that the only way we're gonna get this? like a phone record, and I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? But it was just his idea. So then he went to the studio and did it over. Yeah, so it was amazing.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, Matt, all the time with producers in general, the way that everything, the technology, the access to it has changed. There's everything from the old school method where you go into a big expensive place with a Neve, and you've got, a drum room that sounds like the Grand Canyon, and all these people running around, all the gear you could want. And then there's all the way to the other end of the spectrum where it's, one kid with a laptop and a couple of mics. Where does your production style fit into all of that these days, in terms of what you've learned about what works for you and what worked specifically for you with this project? Like when you tackle this and you're like, okay, I could make the record this way or that way, I'm going to go this way.
Yeah. That's a very fluid answer. So like, I think what works best for me is what works best for the artist in the project. And that can span across that whole spectrum that you just described. Like I just did a record that I can't talk about yet, but we'll be able to soon. The way the big Neve, the big room, everyone running around, crazy, everything's awesome, whatever stuff, right? And I did that, and it totally made sense for that project, and it came out incredible. But at the same time, there's other instances, like with me and Hyro, like it was just the two of us in my studio in Arizona, which is a smaller room, and it's just like the two of us sitting there, just like thought processing together and just making stuff happen in the moment. And you don't need anything else really in that moment because of those, the technology and everything. And I think that everything is valid now. I think it's just about what it is you're trying to accomplish and what you're looking for in the end game, really.
Yeah. Like, to me, it's amazing how real drums can sound now without an actual drummer in the room. You get what I'm saying? That's the craziest part. The snares, the kicks hitting like crazy. So like when Matt sit there and build up a track, I'm just sitting there in shock. Me, I wake up in the morning, I get my little beer, sit in the studio. Next we got a track building. I'm like, oh snap, here we go, let's rock. That's what I mentioned too. And then Matt, an amazing singer, man. So we believe when we did We Believe. I said, bro, I can't sing this shit. What the fuck? Matt went on the mic. He started singing. Just follow me. And so I followed the way he sung it and everything. So him sitting on top. And then, bro, we got it. And he made that shit sound like I'm a singer, bro.
That's amazing. That's like Cube and Dre teaching Eazy-E how to rap in the studio.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I remember, probably almost 20 years ago. Of course, hip hop was always extremely innovative about, the innovation that happens with limited resources, right? When it's like you can't get into a studio, you can't get a hold of this stuff. And punk and hardcore, which is, also kind of part of your background, Matt, like it was very similar in that way of like, we're gonna make this album that's gonna become a classic. We have 2 days because that's all we can afford in this crappy studio or whatever. So the necessity being the mother of invention, I think is great. But I also remember about 20 years ago, I was doing a story on that group, the Postal Service, which was like, at the time it was like, oh, it's a side project. It's, somebody from Death Cab and this electronic dude and, Jenny Lewis. But it was called the Postal Service because they did it all over the mail. Like emailing files to each other. And back then even like physically mailing, discs and hard drives and stuff back and forth. And it's crazy, like you were saying, Matt, how there's so many different ways to do it and they're all valid. And I think that's the important thing that gets missed. It's like movies, you can do all the effects in the computer, you can do all of them practical, you can do a mix. It's kind of like, what does the story call for? What's the budget, all that sort of
or like, does it have a soul or not? I don't think it's really the means. It's just like, like it has to stem from something genuine. That's really about it for me.
Yeah. And I love what you said about, because a lot of rock producers especially have their sound and bands go to that person because they're like, oh, I want that so-and-so sound, that sounds like those other 10 records they've done. And I like your attitude, which I think is a lot more old school, which is like, well, what should this artist sound like?
Yes.
What's their sound? How do I bring that out and perfect it? Can you expand on that a little bit? I think that's something people need to hear more of.
Yeah, I think it's more of like, I guess I can't really put words in his mouth, but I feel like it's more of like a Rick Rubin approach or something where, like he's produced a million different artists and I don't think there's any common thread between any of those records on any sonic level, just quality level. But you know what I mean? You're not getting a Rick Rubin sound. You're getting a Rick Rubin record because it's a great record with his, his imprint, his IP in it, right? But it's not like some people now where you go to them and it's like, oh, I'm gonna have the same drum and guitar tones as these 18 other bands. It just that doesn't exist with him. And I don't want that to exist with me either, because I think the one thing that music is lacking, especially rock right now, is unique to that particular record sounds. Like there's not enough like, oh, I came up with this guitar tone. we mic these drums, we did this, whatever. Like there's not enough uniqueness, to stamp the record for it to stand out amongst the million other things coming out. And I think people could latch onto the uniqueness a little bit more. It would be in everyone's best interest, personally. But people may
Facts.
disagree with me. I don't know, but that's just my thought right now.
Yeah, when you watch, the Metallica documentary about the making of the Black Album, you see them like trying different amps and like, taking, 8 weeks or whatever it was to get a drum sound.
Wow.
It's like,
that's when you got money, you can do shit like that, though.
True.
Yeah.
But the idea of like trying to get something unique sound wise, because now everything's plugins and everything's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you record this because we're going to send it to a different mixer who's going to reamp all your guitars. And it's like, it should matter. Like, I like that idea of like, what you can get in the room when you're actually creating. It should.
It's funny you bring that up. Actually, it's really rare anyone mixes my stuff anymore, but when they do, I never send DIs to people anymore.
Man.
I'm just like, sorry, these are the guitar tones. Like,
I love that. I love that.
There you go.
Because it's like, what's the point? Why did you break your back recording and getting those tones and everything if somebody else
switch it up? Yeah, man.
Putting something else on there. Yeah. But then there is the other side of the coin where, it used to be if you wanted your metal record to have Gene Hoglan on it, you had to like pay Gene Hoglan and fly him there. Now it's like, oh, we'll buy his software that he sells.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just like him. So yeah, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, I guess. It's kind of all in how you use the tool.
I think it's just about your perception and everything, because like even with Hyro stuff, like I think there's tons of unique sounds on it that came from samples, but I think that was kind of like a process of ingenuity that has existed for a long time, and you can either embrace it or not. Like it's really easy to be lazy and be like, oh, this loop I found sounds great, let's just leave it. But you can also be like, hey, but I could also expand on this if I want to and spend the time on it, and then it becomes unique to your own project.
There's one song that's coming that we can't talk about yet, but Matt recorded his kid swinging, I think it was, right? And he walked into the studio like, bro, we should sample this. And she made made the noise and bro, he made a track out of it, bro. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was just her like squealing on the swing set. It was kind of creaking a little bit. It had a rhythm to it. We're like, dude, this is dope.
And it's gonna be one of the dopest songs. When people hear it, they're just gonna be like, what?
And that's the thing about samples that a lot of people don't understand from the outside, where it's not just a matter of like, oh, you just took this and you're just using it. It's like, no, it's also about like the creativity involved with the curation, right?
Yes.
It's samples you choose and the way that you use them and what you pair it with and how it all is, that's the art of it, to me.
Exactly. Agreed.
What do you think it is, Matt, about Hyro as an artist? Because the thing that I love about his music is the explosiveness, right? Of like the way your character and your personality just like pops out of the songs. Which you always have a very live feel. Matt, for you, what were some of the things that were attractive to you about Hyro as an artist in terms of like essence that you wanted to capture and what made it exciting?
I mean, it was mainly that. I think that so like when I think about like rap metal particularly, and when it was the most popular, I guess, it had this element of like ferocity and like fuck the world, just like blowing up energy in your face, crazy shit. Like I think about like Limp Bizkit playing Woodstock and stuff like that, like where it's just like, although that was pretty fucking recklessly irresponsible for Dur's part, there is something to be said about the human emotion element at play there, like where you're seeing like 100,000 people reacting on this visceral level to what this guy is saying and doing in this band's music in that moment, how powerful and insane that is. And I don't really see that happening at all, period, right now. And I thought that when I watched his live performances and stuff, I was like, damn, this guy is, putting out that exact same energy, and I thought it was incredible. In the music, I thought it was like, yeah, the music's like close, but it's not like highlighting that. Like I wanted to make music that like specifically highlighted that energy. Cause like, I watched like a Travis Scott show I just saw a clip like last night, and it's like it looks like a fucking Meshuggah concert. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, dude, like these guys, they're not playing metal, but they're putting out the exact same emotion.
Energy.
And people are latching onto it in the exact same way. It's just through a different medium. And I'm like, man, we need to encapsulate that. And that's what we spend a lot of time doing. And there's a bunch of songs that like really encapsulate that aren't even out yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like banger live songs that are just going to be absolutely insane. But like, you know, I just really, really wanted to go after that, like, you know, full court press and just let it happen.
I love that. Well, I think that's what you guys accomplished. Hyro, so what's some of the stuff that you and Matt connected on in terms of music that you both love? And then you mentioned some things that he had turned you on to throughout this process. What could you, any of those come to mind?
I can't remember the name of them new rappers because so many goddamn new rappers.
Yeah.
every minute. But I had Wu-Tang and all that old school stuff. You know, I bring up some of that. He connected with it. He vibed with it. Busta Rhymes, another one we really connected on. Some of his old school stuff. And you know, I'm getting older, man. That's old school shit is mine. You know, so when I'm listening to the new school, I just know, I can rap like that. So if you listen to lyrical and how I'm riding the beat, that's me of today trying to do it on rock. So I'm trying to mix that in a bit, but also still hold back a little bit because it's rock and roll music. I can't be too, you know, I don't want to do too much of that on the track because you still got to make a track. You know what I'm saying? It got to go somewhere. So we focused on a lot of that, man. But like just vibing to the music that we was doing, like new school, old school, we just try to put them elements inside of it, you know, little cool effects, samples, riding the beat a certain way, make an epic ass chorus. Choruses are my main thing that I really want to work on making great, something that stick in your brain forever, man. And Matt's good at that type of stuff, man. Like we made one song, I forget what it was, I think, and we went and I think it was Fight we was working on actually, where we had like one version of it and then Matt sat with it. Like, I just need to ride more. And then that's when they start changing the beat up with the verses and things. It was a whole fucking dope ass song after that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was fun.
So I would imagine this is a collaboration. I mean, there's still a bunch of stuff you guys worked on that we haven't heard yet, but I feel like, but I feel like this is something the two of you are going to keep working together. Right?
Oh yeah, facts, man.
I sense a true chemistry here as artists. I like that.
Yeah, there's still plenty of stuff to go after, I think.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like when you meet Matt, bro, you just be like, damn, I gotta work with him some more, man. It's like, you know, I'm pretty sure everybody feel that way. That's the same feeling I got from Ben working with him, everything, bro. You just get in the zone and you just feel like, bro, we know we're making magic right now, bro.
Matt,
it's fun.
Do you see yourself, you know, obviously probably not in like the touring configuration, but actually getting on stage and performing with Hyro at some point?
Yeah. Anything is possible, dude. You know,
not to put you on the spot, it just came to mind.
Oh yeah. I mean,
so dope.
Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, I still play sometimes. I played a couple shows at Asking Alexandria since I started working with them because like they randomly need someone to fill in or something, you know. So I'm always, you know, I always leave myself open for that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I love it.
That would be sick.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Thank you, Hyro, once again for including me in all this. This whole series has been fun.
Thank y'all, man.
The series continues. The series continues. But yeah, I'm sure I will talk to both of you again at some point in the near future, and we'll make sure that in here it's got all the links and everything of where to check it all out and keep up to date.
Oh yeah, dude.
Good,
sounds
man.
great. Thank
y'all so much, man.
Yeah, likewise. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
All right, cool.
All right,
Take care.
man. Praise.
Take it away! Take it away! No, you cannot